This video is going to be on the Pythagorean Theorem. For the following right triangle, find the side length x, round your answer to the nearest hundredth. All right, so here we have a right triangle, and we know it's a right triangle because it has a 90-degree angle right here, right? So whenever you have a right triangle, that's when you can use the Pythagorean Theorem. And the Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But what does that mean? Because if we don't understand what that means, it doesn't really matter if we can memorize the formula. So what it means is the sum of the squares of the legs, these are the legs, is equal to the square of the hypotenuse, or the longest side. This is the hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and let's see. The legs are this length, x, and this length, 12, and the hypotenuse here, let's write it in blue, is the longest side of the right triangle, and if you'll notice, it's also the side that's across from the right angle here. So if you made this into a square, and it would be 15 on each side, we know, because a square has equal length on all sides, it would actually be equal to the area of this square, it would be 12 on each side, and this square, which would be x on each side. So this would be x squared, right? Because it's represented by x on each side. This would be 12 squared, which, as you know, 12 times 12 would be 144. And this would be 15 squared. So what it's saying is if you add these up, it's equal to that. So all we're doing is we're writing that in an equation. We're saying x squared, or what we called a squared, plus b squared, plus 12 squared in this case, equals to c squared. And that holds true for any right triangle. So I like this because it doesn't just work for a, b, and c. It also works if it's x, y, and z, or no matter what the variables are. What you have to remember is the sum of the squares of the legs is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So this would be, if we simplify it, x squared is still x squared. And we said 12 times 12, 144. And 15 squared is 225. So if we want to get x by itself, we need to subtract 144 from both sides. And let's see what we have left. This will give us 1. Let's write this in green. So these would cancel out. I would just have x squared is equal to 5 minus 4 is 1. I don't have enough tens to subtract 40 from, so I would borrow hundreds. So this would become 1, and this would become 12, because I borrowed 10 hundreds, and this would be an 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. Oh, x squared is 81. That means x must just be 9, right? Because 9 times 9 is 81. And if it helps you to see, that's because we took the square root to get rid of the square, and the square root of 81 is 9. Now we know it's a positive 9 because we don't have negative numbers representing distances, right? If I told you this was negative 9 feet or whatever it might be, you would look at me like I was crazy. So this x is equal to 9. This side length is 9, this is 12, and this is 15. This is what we call a Pythagorean triple because all of these are whole numbers.